Today we are going to be starting our Radial Symmetry printmaking project. So we will create 1/4 of this design today, and then we will print it a few times, so 4 times, to create a radial symmetry design. To start today, you need a tracing paper square and a pencil. You are going to fold your tracing paper square in half to make a triangle, and you want to make sure this is perfectly folded as you can. So I'm going to match the corners and pull the sides. Then I'm going to turn my artwork so that I have the folded edge here and the open sides here. And we're going to start by drawing a design, thinking of interesting lines. And I want to start up at the corner here, so I'm going to put a little dot. And that's again on the folded edge. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some kind of interesting line going past halfway. So it's going to be interesting, something around here, and then it's going to end down here. So this is halfway, and I want to go further than halfway. As I'm drawing my line, I want to think about, I'm going to be tracing this variety of times. I think 4 or 5 times, multiple times. So I don't want to make it too complicated. Then I want to draw a line from these 2 edges. So not the folded line, but from here to here. I'm going to draw an interesting line, again, from here to here on the open edge. Now I want you to look at your design and think about, where do you have some big gaps? Where do you want to add more details? When I look at this, I want to add something here. And this, artist, is a really cool place to add something. As you can see, when we print it multiple times, that little design right there created a box by putting just something really little in that corner. So I think I'm going to put a line. And just by putting that line in the middle, I'm going to create a box. But you could also do kind of a circle shape. You could do a triangle shape. And when they all meet up in the middle, that will make something very interesting. I also think I could add something in here. And I want my design to be cohesive. I want it to look nice. So I'm doing kind of similar style lines. Again, keeping it simple. And then I'm going to do one more, I think, right here. The lines are not too close to each other, and I am ready for my next step. Once you have your design, you are going to trace everything with Sharpie, making your lines darker. Now we want to have this design be on this side. So what we're going to do, we use Sharpie so that when you flip it over and you press down, you can actually see that design through. So you're going to go ahead and you are going to trace, again, you'll have to press down a little bit, but you want to trace all of your Sharpie lines as perfectly as you can, so that when you open it, you have a symmetrical design. And then again, when you open it, you should have a symmetrical design. Then you want to match up any lines in the center down that line that maybe didn't quite match up. You want it to look like one design. All your lines go off the edges. I'm going to fix this line a little bit here. There we go. Now you are ready for a piece of styrofoam. So you want to get your design onto a printing plate, a styrofoam plate, so that we can print it when you come to art next week. So I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to take a piece of tape, put it on the front, and flip it on the back. Put it on front and flip it on the back. If it goes over a line, a design, that is no problem. So go ahead and tape on your design. On the back, in the corner, write your name with Sharpie on the back. The next step is to transfer, again, this design onto the styrofoam. And you're going to do that with a pencil, and you're going to trace all of your Sharpie lines, pressing pretty hard so that your design and those lines are transferred into the styrofoam. You can see it's going through. Now you won't be able to flip it over and see it on the back. If you see it on the back, that means you're pressing way too hard. However, if you do rip this tracing paper, that's okay. This tracing paper is actually not part of our final piece of artwork. So you're going to trace over all of your lines. Again, you can peek, but be careful. You don't want to move it to make sure it's going through. Trace all of your lines. Next, what you're going to do is you can go ahead, you can take off the tape, take off the paper. We no longer need this piece. And our lines are not quite deep enough and wide enough for printing. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to trace all of my lines. Again, making them deeper, making them wider. Take your time. And now we are ready for printing. So to print today, you will use 4 to 5 different markers. You may choose whichever colors you would like. You will need a wet sponge and then some paper. So to start, I'm going to start coloring my styrofoam using these colors. So I think I'm going to start. I'm going to put this light pink in the middle, staying inside the lines. And then I'm going to repeat that color. I want my design and colors to be balanced. And then I think I will put this darker pink on this inside design here. Try not to go outside the lines, taking my time. You want to make sure you get all those little corners, all the edges. It's okay if it looks like the marker is starting to dry out. The water will bring it back, the ink back out when we print, and you'll see that in just a moment. And then I think I will do this little corner here with that same color, again, kind of creating balance in my design. And then I'm going to do this middle section green. Make sure you get all the edges, all the corners. I'm taking your time. I'm going to try not to get my fingers in any of these designs because those fingerprints will show up when you print. And then my final color, I'm going to use this purple, and I'm going to do the dark purple on the corner, the edge piece. Make sure I get that corner. I'm going to do it here as well. And then again, as I'm doing this section, I really want to be careful not to get my fingers in there. Hold it just a teeny bit. And now I am ready to print. So you have a piece of paper. Before you print, you want to write your name on one of the edges, probably the top or the bottom, just so that we know whose print is whose. And then you're going to take a sponge, and you do want this sponge to be fairly wet. And you're actually just going to press down and get your piece of paper nice and wet. Now you don't want it to be like a puddle, but you want it plenty wet. And then I'm going to carefully flip over my styrofoam and set it down. Once you set it down, you cannot pick it up and move it, or it will not work. But what you're going to do is you're going to rub the edges, rub the corners, rub the inside, making sure that it's all evenly rubbed. And then once you think you have rubbed enough, you can pick it up carefully and you will see your print. That is one print. Now, if you notice that your print is maybe cutting off some edges or it didn't show up very well, that could be that you did not use enough water. If it's all blended together and you cannot see your white lines, that means maybe you have too much water. So you will just take some time, experiment. You'll print a few of these, I would say 5, 6, maybe even 7, however many you have time for, but you need only 4 good ones. So I'm going to set this aside, and you do not have to wash this. You can just go ahead and color again and print it again until you have at least 4 good ones that you can choose for your final artwork. Now we are ready to finish our artwork. We are going to be choosing our top 4 designs, cutting them out and gluing them together to have radial symmetry. So before I start cutting and gluing, I want to lay all my prints out and find the best ones. So as I look at this, I know that some of these are cut off. This might be a little bit too wet. My lines got, can't see anymore. Again, this one, you can't see. I didn't use enough water. And as I look at these, I think this one got a little wet, but I think that one still, you can see all edges. I think these 4 are my best 4. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start cutting out all of my designs. If you have nice prints with all of the edges and the corners, then you will have an easier time cutting. If you have a corner that's cut off or part of the design that doesn't show up, then you still want to pretend it's here. So for example here, this side got a little bit cut off, but I can still see it a little bit. So I don't want to cut here, I want to cut here so that it's a nice square and all my designs will fit together. Once you have all of your designs cut out, now you are ready to glue it onto this black background piece of paper. It is very important that you create radial symmetry. So if you just glue them any way you want, you can see this is not symmetrical anyway. So you want to choose a part of your design to have in the center. So this design, I could put this in the middle for all of my designs. So you can see I'm putting this in the middle, and that creates a box. The other option is I could put this design in the middle. So all of my designs are in the middle. Looks like that, and you can see I have radial symmetry. So you want to choose kind of a corner piece that has a unique design in it. So I think, so for this one, I had the square piece in the middle. I chose to put this corner in the middle. So if I think for this one, I'm going to do opposite. So I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to kind of place it where I want it. Don't put it in the corner, right? That is not centered on the black piece of paper. You are going to go ahead and glue, and you do not need a lot of glue. You're gluing paper to paper. So I'm going to start with one design. I'm going to put 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dots, 4, 5, kind of outlining 5, and then 1 in the middle. I do not need more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, I want this design in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to put it in the middle here, line it up, and I'm going to hold it for maybe 30 seconds. Make sure those corners are down. I will continue the process, gluing each of these squares with 9 dots of glue, making sure that this design gets in the middle. It will not have radial symmetry if you are not careful about putting that same design in the middle. And you want these to meet up in the middle. Go ahead and glue your design, creating radial symmetry.